Today, military guns will fire salutes and sporting events will pause for minutes of silence. Flags will fly at half-mast until the day of his funeral, which is yet to be announced. People have been coming out to express their grief.
I have a huge amount of respect for the royal family. We're quite emotional, actually. The news broke as we were walking through Parliament Square, and my daughter and I we just felt like we had to come down here and just...
Sad. He's been with us all through our lives.
There's been a couple of reports this week in relation to the coronation.
The world looked on in quiet admiration as King William and Queen Catherine embraced their new titles during a deeply touching moment that resonated far and wide. A walkabout at Windsor left them visibly emotional, their faces revealing the weight of a grieving nation. What happened beyond those royal walls shook the monarchy to its foundation, signaling the dawn of a heartfelt and unified chapter. Stick around until the end to hear the full account, and don't forget to subscribe for ongoing royal updates. There's something uniquely moving in how King William and Queen Catherine present themselves to the public. It's not just ceremonial or expected. It's a deep connection rooted in mutual strength, especially during times of mourning. Many believe grief reveals a person's true nature. In this case, subtle gestures conveyed more than any speech could. From William gently placing his hand on Catherine's back to their wordless exchanges that said so much, their closeness radiated through the sadness. The death of King Charles in July 2025 sent shockwaves throughout Britain and beyond. The country was only beginning to come to terms with losing a sovereign who ruled with quiet commitment when his son, now King William, and Queen Catherine made their touching entrance as the new monarchs. This wasn't just any public appearance. It marked their first solo engagement as king and queen. A symbolic walkabout at Windsor Castle reflecting the shift in leadership while honoring the nation's collective sorrow. Royal sources spoke of the gravity of the moment and how it surprised even the most experienced members of the family. While the palace gave no official title to the event, news outlets quickly coined names like first solo appearance, tribute, walk, and meeting mourners. A notable article in People magazine echoed the sentiment, calling it their first standalone appearance as England's new monarchs, signaling the beginning of a new chapter. The event took place on Windsor's storied grounds where mourners had been gathering for days, leaving flowers, messages, and candles for King Charles. William and Catherine appeared in somber dress, their faces revealing both determination and grief. They spent close to 45 minutes with the crowd, a period that felt timeless and brief all at once. It was more than just royal procedure. It was a heartfelt effort to comfort, to show appreciation, and to absorb the sadness that blanketed the crowd. The walk began at the Cambridge Gate, where the new monarchs stepped out of their car, acknowledging the respectful yet subdued crowd with modest waves. William, composed as ever, took the lead, with Catherine beside him, her quiet grace grounding them both. As they neared the ocean of floral tributes, rows of bouquets stretching endlessly, reality seemed to sink in. An onlooker recalled William pausing to take in the notes while Catherine gently picked up a particularly touching card. There was no performance here. It was real. A couple, now leaders, stepping into unknown ground while carrying the weight of a nation. What made this so poignant was its honesty. No grand speeches, no pageantry, just the people meeting their public. Insiders said the couple had thoughtfully planned this moment, understanding it would define the start of their rule. William reportedly shared how important it was to show unity and gratitude right away, reflecting on the lessons of prior royal transitions. The pain in the air was unmistakable, not just for King Charles, but for a chapter that had closed. Catherine, long admired for her compassion, was seen wiping away a tear as a young child gave her a hand-drawn tribute to the late monarch. It was in these intimate moments that a formal obligation transformed into a deeply human encounter. As the walkabout continued, William and Catherine slowly made their way down the long walk, the iconic avenue lined with tributes. The crowd, made up of locals and international visitors, had stood for hours under the summer sun to say farewell. Many held flags or portraits of King Charles, their expressions mixing grief with optimism. The new monarchs took their time. They paused often, shaking hands, receiving embraces, and hearing personal stories. One attendee shared how Charles's conservation work had influenced her family, to which William responded gently, "We will continue that legacy." A quiet vow wrapped in personal grief. Catherine, composed yet warm in her mourning clothes, knelt to talk to children, her nurturing side on full display. She accepted a small bouquet from a young girl, whispering soothing words that drew smiles. Through tears, the pair's body language spoke volumes. William repeatedly glanced toward Catherine with a comforting look, and she responded in kind. Their togetherness was clear with every step they took. While this wasn't their first time greeting the public in such a way, doing so now as King and Queen raised the emotional stakes, cameras documented every nuance, William subtly fixing his tie before speaking, or the slight tremor in Catherine's voice as she thanked a veteran for his service. The moment drew comparisons to earlier royal events, especially the 2022 walkabout following Queen Elizabeth's passing, where they stood united in mourning. but this time was different. It was just the two of them carrying the crown's future forward alone. Coverage from the previous event described 40-minute-long interactions, marked by heartfelt conversations. Similarly, this appearance centered around quiet connections. William was heard expressing his appreciation, saying, "My father would have been deeply moved by this support. It meant the world to him." Catherine complimented his words by gently asking mourners to share their stories of Charles. One elderly woman recalled meeting the late king many years ago, and Catherine listened with moist eyes before softly responding. He treasured moments like that. Of course, it wasn't without difficulty. Security was understandably strict, but the couple insisted on being as close as possible to the crowd, reminiscent of Charles's accessible nature. As they stood before the many floral arrangements of a nation's final goodbye, the intensity of the moment rose. Insiders later shared that while security teams had prepared for every scenario, nothing could have readied them for the raw emotions that unfolded. What defined this walkabout were the sincere exchanges. William and Catherine didn't merely wave, they formed bonds. They helped turn grief into mutual comfort. A particularly touching moment happened when a group of schoolchildren handed them homemade cards. William knelt down, the formality of kingship giving way to his role as a father, reading a message aloud about Charles's love for wildlife. "Thank you," he replied, voice steady but eyes glistening. "This means a great deal." Catherine, nearby, embraced a crying teen, whispering soothing words that reflected her own understanding of sorrow. The crowd responded warmly, clapping and cheering in solidarity with the grieving royals. Another emotional moment came when a family visiting from Scotland shared how Charles's time at Balmoral had inspired their love for the region. Catherine placed a hand on her heart and responded, "He adored Scotland. We'll carry that forward." Moments like these showcased their deep compassion and empathy developed over years of public service. News clips circulated of William consoling a man in tears, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. Similar gestures in the 2022 walkabout helped unify the public then, and so it was again. Catherine's impact was equally profound. Known for her advocacy around emotional well-being, she asked people how they were coping and quietly offered words of hope. One woman later told the press, "She helped me feel like someone really understood." The entire walk lasted 45 minutes, though each moment was rich with emotion. As they moved along, the couple accepted tributes, flowers, cards, and even a plush corgi reminiscent of Charles's beloved pets. William made a light-hearted comment about its likeness, momentarily lifting the heavy atmosphere. Still, the undercurrent of grief was strong. Insiders later shared that Catherine admitted it was among the most emotionally demanding days she'd faced, echoing challenges from prior royal milestones. The public responded immediately, with praise flooding social platforms about the couple's strength and dignity. Though they appeared calm and composed outwardly, the experience had deeply moved both William and Catherine. Close sources revealed how, in the quiet hours after Charles's death, the couple had carefully balanced their private sorrow with their public responsibilities. William, now king, felt the enormous weight of inheriting his father's legacy, role he'd always known would come, but hoped wouldn't arrive so soon. Catherine stood by him quietly, leaning on her own resilience as a mother and royal partner. Their children George, Charlotte, and Louis were kept away from the public eye for now, but as a family, they had discussed the day's events, emphasizing love and unity. One royal source mentioned that William became emotional while looking through old photographs of Charles meeting the public, promising himself to keep that tradition alive. The decision to step out alone was intentional, a declaration of their beginning as monarchs. Media headlines like "First Solo Outing" captured the significance of this chapter, as featured in stories from outlets such as People, and while their sorrow was fresh, it was tied to powerful memories. William reflected on his father's quiet wisdom in tough moments, while Catherine thought deeply about her evolving place in the royal story. Standing as pillars of the family, the couple's preparation involved selecting understated coats, modest jewelry, and receiving updates on public sentiment. Still, no amount of planning softened the emotional blow. During the walkabout, small cracks in their calm appeared. William's clenched jaw, Catherine's occasional deep inhalations. After the engagement, they took a private moment to reflect. Past events, such as the 2022 mourning period, carried similar emotional weight. But this occasion came with the added burden of royal responsibility. Their well-established bond was crucial. Catherine's quiet guidance, much like during personal milestones, helped ground William. It was this shared vulnerability that made them so relatable, turning formality into something deeply personal. The walkabout sparked a media storm. Headlines applauded William and Catherine's grace and resilience. Phrases like "paying respects" and "first solo public appearance" dominated coverage. One People article specifically identified it as their initial solo moment, as reigning monarchs marking the beginning of their leadership. Social media lit up with emotional video clips, hashtags like #KingWilliam and #Queen Catherine trending. Worldwide, public response was overwhelmingly positive, with many expressing how the couple's presence offered genuine solace. One heartfelt post read, "Seeing them grieve alongside us made the monarchy feel human." Detractors, though, rare remarked on the event's informality, but most viewed that as a modern and welcome evolution. Drawing on coverage of similar events like the 2022 Windsor engagement featured in the Mirror and Business Insider media, once again emphasized connection and unity. Without other family members present, all attention fell on William and Catherine, heightening their prominence. International outlets praised their compassion. CNN even called the appearance a lesson in empathetic leadership. Their inner circle tracked the feedback closely, noting its positive effect on public morale. Catherine's moments with children stood out especially, a reflection of her long-standing commitment to mental and emotional health. In total, the public's reaction helped cement their reputation as down-to-earth leaders, ready to guide with empathy. But the walkabout's impact didn't end with William and Catherine. It echoed through their family. Their children quietly observed, absorbing profound lessons about duty and grief. George, as heir, watched from the sidelines, learning through his parents' composed and heartfelt example, just as he had during earlier family trials. Insiders close to the royals shared that discussions at home went beyond mourning King Charles. They focused on how to carry forward his legacy of public service and environmental passion, while also embracing a modern, resilient future. Charlotte, already confident from past appearances, where she showed remarkable composure, mirrored her mother's steadiness during this chapter, offering subtle strength in the face of sorrow. Meanwhile, Louis, with his natural playfulness, brought light to the somber mood, his joy reflecting the cherished family moments King Charles had loved so deeply. Catherine's nurturing role stood at the heart of this period, as she had done during other key moments. She guided her family through loss with grace, balancing structure with emotional openness. William's leadership also evolved, blending Charles's devotion to duty with his own personal focus on family closeness and emotional honesty, pulling the family together in shared understanding. Similarities to earlier royal transitions, especially after Queen Elizabeth's death in 2022, revealed the recurring emotional impact. Reports at that time also spoke of family stress, but emphasized the opportunities for resilience and connection. For example, during that season of mourning, William and Catherine made efforts to protect their children's routine, postponing major shifts like moving to Windsor Castle to offer stability in a time of upheaval. The Queen's passing had aligned with the children's first days at a new school, adding pressure, which they addressed through open talks and calming routines approaches, likely repeated after Charles's death. Media like the NY Post and Marie Claire later reflected on how these strategies helped shape strong, grounded young royals, transforming pain into a force for growth. In this most recent walkabout, the same resilience showed through. The event strengthened the family unit and prepared George, Charlotte, and Louis for their eventual roles within a modernized monarchy. Catherine's parenting, marked by emotional awareness and flexibility rather than rigid tradition, was key. Her guidance helped the children navigate grief while understanding that public duty can stem from personal values. In the end, this public appearance became more than ceremonial. It became a teaching moment, one that skillfully intertwined centuries-old royal customs with present-day compassion, ensuring the next generation steps forward, not just prepared, but inspired. Not just as royals, but as empathetic figures ready to shoulder the crown's responsibility. As the walkabout came to a close, attention naturally shifted to what lies ahead under King William and Queen Catherine. Their rule is expected to bring thoughtful reform, building on King Charles's passionate environmental advocacy, yet blending it with their own fresh, forward-thinking style. Sources near the monarchy have shared that William is focused on forging his own legacy, gradually setting himself apart from his father's footsteps by shaping a royal household that is younger, more connected, and cost. This isn't about tearing down tradition, it's about progression, not revolution. The goal: to keep the monarchy aligned with the needs of a modern, fast-changing world. Behind palace walls, discussions are already underway to streamline how Buckingham Palace operates, reworking royal duties to enhance transparency and engagement, making it easier for the public to feel seen and heard. Their debut as monarchs sent a clear message: accessibility is key, signaling a major departure from some of the older, more rigid customs. William has taken steps to modernize symbolic traditions, too, like quietly dropping the long-held no selfies guideline once enforced by Queen Elizabeth, hinting at a more personable, modern monarchy. Rumors continue to circulate that George, Charlotte, and Louis are being introduced to new forms of training covering diplomacy, environmental issues, and even hands-on skills to better equip them for diverse roles in the years to come. William has expressed his intent to offer them flexibility, allowing them the freedom to follow their own paths, rather than adhering strictly to royal protocol. This represents a meaningful shift toward honoring legacy while encouraging individuality. Catherine's role in this change is critically, keeping the family grounded while promoting emotional health in a life constantly under scrutiny. Often praised as the graceful and relatable face of modern royalty, she's central to reshaping the monarchy's public image through her understated parenting and thoughtful appearances. Experts suggest Catherine helps balance William's responsibilities with his life as a father, and her long-term commitment to mental health is expected to grow in visibility during their reign. Together, They're quietly assembling a strong inner circle of advisors who share their vision of service-based leadership, with a focus on youth, sustainability, and everyday relevance within royal life. Their mindset blends tradition with progress. For instance, insiders have hinted at future plans for a scaled-back coronation meant to reflect today's values while keeping the crown meaningful for all. Ultimately, this walkabout at Windsor became more than just a ceremonial event. It became a living symbol of strength, not only for the royals, but for a country adjusting to deep change. Through gentle gestures, visible emotion, and genuine connection, King William and Queen Catherine helped close the gap between monarchy and people. It wasn't a polished stage moment, it was something far more sincere. A heartfelt goodbye to King Charles, whose quiet commitment to the environment and public service will echo for generations to come. But just as importantly, it was a heartfelt welcome to a new reign, one that marries history with hope and values compassion as much as ceremony. Royal experts are already drawing parallels to past moments of transition, like the emotional scenes following Queen Elizabeth's passing. Yet this moment felt uniquely intimate, crafted with William and Catherine's personal touch. Palace insiders are confident that this walkabout laid the groundwork for a reign that will resonate for years, redefining the crown as a symbol not of distance, but of closeness and care. Imagine the memories this day will leave behind. How a quiet walk among grieving crowds became a moment of unity. How William's calm presence and Catherine's tender hugs reminded everyone that even monarchs carry heartache. This wasn't only a tribute to Charles's life, it became a powerful message that real leadership comes from empathy, connection, and shared experience. As the sun dipped behind Windsor's skyline, the legacy of that day remained proof that from grief can grow new strength and purpose. What part of this moving day stayed with you the most? Was it the quiet words, the emotional glances, or the crowd's raw love for the new king and queen? Share your thoughts below. We'd love to hear how this moment affected you. And don't forget to subscribe for more moving royal moments, insider access, and thoughtful updates from inside the palace. This is just the beginning.